All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the second battle of the interviews. So let me hear from you right now. Who's excited to hear their favorite candidate come up on stage and give an interview? Who thinks that the person that they're supporting is going to win the battle of the interviews? Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for being here. We are so excited to do this event again this year. If you're just coming in, there are seats at the round tables throughout here, so feel free to jump in at a table. My name is Phil Brazell, and I'm the Executive Director of Career and Alumni Relations, and I work on a larger team called Vocation, Innovation, and Alumni. And from your perspective, what we are here for is to help bridge the gap between your experience as a student and following forward into your career and what God's calling you to be, and being an engaged alumni to give back to our community and be a part of what we're doing for the rest of your lives. I also get to work with an awesome team in the Center for Career and Calling that have helped to put this event on. If you work in the Center for Career and Calling, can you just stand up really quick, and can we give them a round of applause for all of their work and efforts? And that's a team of people that cares deeply about you and your career and preparing you professionally, getting you connected to people who can help with the next step in your life. And what the finalists and the candidates you'll be hearing from tonight have gone through that process. We have interviewed over 50 students for this and chosen 7 students to be a part of this competition. And they represent different majors and programs at APU, and you'll get to meet them in a minute. But they've been coached over the last month by coaches from our staff that have walked through their resume and mock interviews and connecting with people and had the preparation to walk in confidence to this night. And we're so grateful for them, and we'll get to meet them in a second. And the 3 areas that all of our candidates will be evaluated on are these 3 areas: their attire, and then their actual resume, which you'll have on the screens when they come up on stage, and then their interview that they'll do here in front of you all and before this panel of judges. And this really is first and foremost, obviously, for all of our candidates, that they've been able to go through this training, receive feedback, get support and coaching, and they're stepping forward into interviewing and feeling confident. But also, this is for you all. They are stepping out encouraged to be able to show you a different approach to interviewing, maybe different than your style, maybe different dependent upon the program or industry that you're looking to go into. And so you all will be able to hear and learn from them as well. But also, this event is a part of understanding and raising the bar of professionalism on campus. And to understand, in this case, it feels like, whoa, this is kind of like the Hunger Games of interviews. But the reality is, this is going to be good for everybody. It's not that nobody's going to have any issues. But really, the reality that the marketplace is competitive, and you will be up against other candidates either from APU or other universities. And so we want and desire for you all to put your best foot forward, to represent yourselves well on behalf of yourself, on behalf of APU, but ultimately on behalf of God and what He's calling you to do. And we want every APU student to step forward with excellence, to represent themselves well, to make an impact for the kingdom. Amen? All right, so thank you for being here. So right now, I'm going to introduce to you our judges, who are the individuals who will be choosing who will be winning this competition tonight, the $500 prize. And these are individuals who partner with our office regularly, who are advocates for the work that we do and are on our behalf. And we are so grateful that they're lending their time tonight to provide feedback. The first is Heidi Chow. She is a staffing manager at Robert Half. Yeah, we can give a round of applause. She partners in the classroom with faculty to help provide opportunities for students to get work, but also partners with our office to hire and to train students, and we're so grateful to have her here. Also, we have Dr. Ed Barron. Let's give him a round of applause. He is chair and assistant professor in the Department of Leadership and Organizational Psychology. He is a champion for students and believes in the work and wants all students to step into their calling, and we're grateful to have him here. And then Dr. Vicki Bowden. Let's give her a round of applause. She is the vice provost for undergraduate programs. She is passionate about students and seeing your academic experience translate into what you can do to impact the world, and she's one of our biggest cheerleaders on campus, and we're grateful for her. And then finally, but not least of all, Peggy Campbell. Let's hear it for Peggy Campbell. She is the president of Ambassador Advertising Agency and also the chair of the Board of Trustees at Azusa Pacific University, and helps to guide all the decisions that are made here and lead us through her servant leadership, and we're so grateful to have her here to provide feedback as well. In addition to this, you all have a role in this as well. If you open up your program, inside of that is a place where you can review each of the candidates based on the 3 pieces of criteria that they're going to be judged on. And then after all of that, you will be able to vote. We'll put the instructions on that once it's all finished, to vote for your favorite and for who you would vote as the audience favorite. And we will announce that. And that person will win a $250 gift card. So you have a role in this, and we want you to be active. You can take notes there, write notes on the feedback that they're given, and hear and learn from your perspective as well. And so know that we would love for you to be actively engaged in that way. And now we are going to get to meet all of our competitors. So please give a large and loud welcome to all 7 of our competitors as they come to the stage. So, as you know, interviewing is already a vulnerable place, that you are putting yourself out there, that you are choosing to have to communicate, not knowing what questions you're going to be asked. And these people have chosen to do this in front of an audience and in front of a panel of judges and administrators and faculty members and employers. And so we are so grateful for them and their courage. So we want to be very enthusiastic in our support of them. And so we are now going to hear from them, each share their name, their major or majors, and then what they are planning to do after college. So let's start with you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sasha Kingsley. I'm a senior at APU. I'm studying business management, and I'm going to be working in the financial services industry.
Hi, my name is Madeline Nogard. I'm a current senior here at APU, graduating with double majors in accounting and economics. After graduation, I'm headed to work for KPMG. They're one of the big 4 financial service firms, and I'll be headed home to Portland.
Hi, my name is Noah Joe, and I'm a freshman, and I'm in the nursing program here at APU. And after college, I plan to go to a hospital, maybe in Los Angeles, and work in the emergency room or with pediatrics.
Hi, my name is Courtney Bowden. I'm a senior. I'm a psychology major and a biblical studies minor. I am also heading back home to Portland to pursue a job in early childhood education.
Hi, my name is Andrew Washington. I'm a junior here, and I'm a commercial music business major, and I hope to be doing artist management and branding in the Los Angeles area.
Hi, my name is Noah Jackson. I'm a junior political science and humanities major on campus, and I plan to move back up to Northern California and get involved in ag politics and state politics up there after graduation. So.
Hi, my name is Michaela Brewster. I'm a senior. I'm studying media communication and public relations. And after graduation, I plan to move to New York and work in social media management and digital marketing.
All right, let's hear it for all of our competitors as they head back backstage right now. And right now, I will be asking Joyce Richardson, who will be the person who will be interviewing all of our candidates. She is the executive assistant in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions, and she works a lot with millennial talent, especially those that work in an admissions office, and is a front lines with a lot of them as they are going through the hiring processes. And she's just an amazing ally for us on campus, and she did this last year, and she's, slightly intimidating, so it's a good vibe for this experience. So we're so grateful for her as well. So the way that Joyce Richardson. So we're going to move through these interviews rather quickly. They each have been instructed they have 8 minutes to respond to the questions. They do not know the questions that they're going to be asked. Most of them are tailored to the role that they are applying for, so each of them will be asked different questions dependent upon the role that they're applying for. I will be reading, as they walk in, a brief job description based on the role that they will be applying for, and then as soon as that is finished and they sit down, the competition will begin and the interview will begin with Joyce, and then we will, after that, each candidate will receive feedback from our judges, and then we will move through that quickly, and then once we close all of those interviews, we will move into the time where you can vote. So let's start with our first candidate, Sasha Kingsley. Sasha is applying to be a business analyst at McKinsey & Company. The business analyst will gather and analyze information, formulate and test hypotheses, develop data, and communicate recommendations. The business analyst will have an active role in all aspects of the client engagement and work with a team of consultants. Let's listen in on the interview.
Thank you for being here today and for your interest in this position. I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'll leave some time at the end so you can ask me some questions. Does that sound okay?
Thank you for having me here. Appreciate it.
Perfect, thank you. So briefly tell me about yourself and your career goals.
I'm actually from Singapore, but originally from India, and I've been applying to many applications through many financial service industry jobs and through financial advising roles. I've been applying to consulting roles as well at Big Four, companies like BCG, McKinsey, and other companies as well. Some of my career goals are to eventually start my own financial investment firm. I came from a big background back in Singapore. I played tennis as a student athlete over here at APU.
Okay, great. Okay, can you describe your most important leadership experience and the impact you had as a leader?
My most important leadership experience was probably during my senior year at APU, when I was appointed as a TA from a macroeconomics job. When I was appointed to work for a whole semester, I was tutored students of a class of 80 students and was grading papers and assignments on a weekly, day-to-day basis. For my other leadership experience that I had the opportunity to lead a team for my tennis team here at APU. Those guys were a great bunch, and I appreciate having the opportunity to have been a personal leader and having been inclusive. The best opportunity that I had was to construct and formulate training practices on a daily basis and motivate my teammates from the front. The only way that I had was to deal with my teammates on a friendly basis solely because they're my friends on and off the court. However, the stern decisions that I had to make were probably the toughest decisions I had to make on a daily basis.
Okay, great. So tell me about a group project conflict, and what did you do to resolve that?
This was actually in my second internship during CoreLogic when I was a corporate finance intern. I was working on the budgeting forecast. So it was the budgeting forecast template that I was asked to report and formulate for the fiscal year of 2017. So in 2016 of June, they gave me a deadline of 4 weeks. However, during the first 2 weeks, a lot of the programming systems that were in our company were shutting down solely because we were changing from a different programming system called SmartView into Essbase. From time to time, I had issues solely because I wasn't a programmer myself. After the first 2 weeks of researching and trying to resolve conflicts with the programmers in our company, the only issue that I had was to try and find a way to make the file compatible for all business units within the company. Throughout the whole process of 4 weeks, I still hadn't had the assignment done. My team and I, with the corporate finance department, we had many issues that we had to report to the executive team. Without having solved the problem within 4 weeks, we were put under a lot of pressure because we had to solve and create and formulate the whole budget template by the end of the 4 weeks. However, within the 6th week of my internship, even though the file was so large, it was not compatible to use for many of the business units within our department and our company. But what happened was we had found a solution and created a smaller and cutthroat kind of budget template that could fit through for each of our departments, where we had to assist them and guide them by telling them how to change each business unit and change each factor into changing our whole budget template to create their data sets and financial models.
Oh, very interesting. Describe a client relationship which was challenging and how you handled that conflict.
As an intern, I didn't have the biggest work with the client base itself, but we had BCG come work on a project with us to strive for financial success and cut on expenses. The biggest experience that I had was to formulate a strategy and implement very different kind of financial models that we did not have going forward from the past. So we had to create new strategy and financial models going forward into the future, looking at the company's perspective. The relationship that I had with these clients were very different solely because I was not dealing with the buyers that CoreLogic itself was dealing with, but I was dealing with a consulting company like BCG that was telling us the strategy to implement. So it was very different on what I was doing from what a salesperson would do from our department. However, the relationship that we had was very on and off because BCG was trying to just do what was in their best interest. However, we knew what was best for our company itself. The executive team knew what the right decision was to make, but in terms of what BCG had done for us, we appreciated it, but we knew that the executive team knew a lot more about our company overall, and we made our decision based on our gut.
Very good, very good. If I were to ask your colleagues from your most recent internship, what would they say about you?
They would say I had the initiative to learn, ask insightful questions, and I was a true leader in the workplace, solely because of the initiative that I took to constantly ask to take on more assignments, to work on 50 over financial reports during my second internship over the 2-month period. The most difficult thing that I had to deal with was whether I could be trusted to work as an intern. But I proved from time and time again that I had the analytical skills just to work as a full-time financial analyst at CoreLogic itself.
Very good. So tell me, Sasha, why should we hire you over other candidates we're considering?
Well, that's a great question. Firstly, I have three factors that I like to talk about why I should be hired. Firstly, my leadership experience. Secondly, my analytical skills and background that I have that I could bring into McKinsey itself. And finally, my international exposure. For my leadership experience that I've talked about in the first question itself, when I mentioned that I was a captain of the tennis team and a TA, those kind of opportunities have grown and showed me how to lead a team from the front, whether it be a small team or a big organization itself. Despite having to deal with many different clients that we had come in from a day-to-day basis, I had rough challenges that I had during my internship. But I showed from time to time with my teammates that I had the potential to deal with leading from the front and being very inclusive. In terms of my analytical skills during my 2 internships, my supervisor, who was the vice president of finance, he himself did indicate that my skill set were very apt for a full-time financial analyst or accounting analyst. What was important to me was to know that I could bring these expertise and skills that I learned during my 2 internships into the future workplace. And finally, my international exposure, which I feel is very important for a role like at McKinsey. I feel that I could bring these expertise of knowing how to adapt with various people from various cultures. Since I grew up in Singapore and lived in Hong Kong before that, and have come to the US, I've known how people work differently in different cultures.
Okay, so do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I have one question just for you. Firstly, what is the biggest challenge that your team has faced when a client has rejected your proposed idea and strategy?
All right, let's hear it for Sasha Kingsley. All right, so now we will turn to the judges who will be able to provide feedback based on that interview.
All right, I'm going to go first and just say, Sasha, smile. That's so good. You have a great smile. I would love to see more of that. I want to just say, affirm you for doing this. It's a tough gig, so thank you for that. Beyond the smiling, the only other thing that I would say, you answered immediately every question, almost like you knew what she was going to ask. I wouldn't mind if you just paused for a moment to consider what you're going to say, so it seems like you're processing a little bit more than just a rote response, for what it's worth. Okay. Where's the smile? That's
Sasha, I really loved how you emphasized your international experience because I think that's so important in our just multicultural world and all the people that different people we engage with. At the very beginning, you shared about all the other companies you were looking at or places you were going for a job. And if I were interviewing, I don't want to know that you're looking for any place but us. Right. Because then it seems like, well, are you just passing through here and we're just one of many? I kind of want to know that we're really special to you. And so you may be doing all that, but don't tell me, unless I ask.
So, Sasha, going first is like the worst, right? You're the first one out. But let me tell you, you did really good. I agree with Peggy. I'm looking at this picture, and that's the guy I want to see. Dude, you got swag, man. You came out on the stage, you owned it. You adjusted your cuffs when you came out. This is about to bring it, right? So know that you've got an intangible, Sasha. You've got presence, right? When you stepped up there, I wanted to listen to you. So calm down, relax, think about what makes you happy. That'll bring that smile, and then own the space because you're the expert of you, okay?
Absolutely, and to piggyback off of what Ed just mentioned, I really loved learning about your story, and it came full circle. When you're interviewing, it's all about presenting yourself, and sometimes it's going, it's almost like writing your papers, right? You have your thesis, you have your body, and then your conclusion, right? You started by mentioning your international, your background with Singapore, right? And then in the end, you summarized it by saying, your international experience, living in Singapore, living in Hong Kong. I love that. And then being able to tie everything together and proving your point. So excellent job.
All right, let's hear it again for Sasha. Thank you so much. And our next candidate is Madeline Ogard, and she is applying for an audit associate position at KPMG. The audit associate will provide audits, tax, and advisory services for organizations. The associate will execute audit engagements of clients, including communicating, accounting, and auditing matters, as well as understanding and utilizing KPMG's audit methodology. Let's listen in.
Thank you so much for being here today and for your interest in this position. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I'll leave some time at the end, and you can ask me some questions, okay? All right, great. So briefly tell me about yourself and your career goals.
So I'm a senior graduating with majors in accounting and economics. I would like to gain entry into the accounting industry, preferably in audit. I have prior experience with your company as an audit intern last summer. And this summer, I'll be working on passing my CPA exam, hopefully by the end. I'd like to start work with that license already taken out of the way. In long term, I'm interested in doing an international rotation if possible, and then hopefully making partner in a firm one day.
Great. So what areas of accounting are you most interested in and why?
I had a really great time when I studied abroad and just in my classes learning about the IFRS International Reporting Standards Code. So I have interest in doing a rotation. I know our company has headquarters in Amsterdam, so that has a big appeal to me.
Very good. Give me an example of a time when you were working in a team and a team member wasn't meeting the responsibilities. How did you handle that situation?
This reminds me of an engagement I was on last summer when I was interning. We were on a client year-end, so we had to be in the engagement room all day long. And there was a point in the day when we had all been there for so many hours. We were all so burned out on the work, and the tasks just weren't getting done how they needed to be. And so my senior on the job said, I think we could all just use a break. Why don't we just go to Whole Foods, get some lunch, get our mind off this work for a bit? And it was the most effective break ever. And we came back so productive and ready and just finished everything up. And it ended up being a good use of time.
Okay, great. How do you minimize the risk of errors in your work?
I tend to be very diligent and careful with everything I do. It's always been a quality of mine since I was younger, and I think that's probably what drew me to accounting as my major. I'm a little meticulous and I like the details, so I think that makes me a good fit for this profession.
Okay, great. Why are you interested in working at KPMG over other firms?
Yeah, during the internship last summer, I was really impressed with how my values seem to match your company. It's not often that you find a big corporate company that loves to give back and has philanthropic motives. I liked how the company shut down for a whole day and everybody volunteered. That's something that I'm passionate about, and it was great to see like-minded people working alongside me. Also, you guys ranked 12th out of Forbes' 100 best companies to work for, which is so impressive. I couldn't imagine myself at another firm.
Wonderful. So why should we hire you over other candidates we're considering?
I think I am prepared to give accounting everything I have. It's a goal of mine, and I will accomplish work when it needs to be done. Deadlines are something that I feel very comfortable with and that I strive to meet and match. To be able to sit for the CPA exam, 150 semester hours are needed, which typically takes a person 5 years to do. And I'll have done it in 4. Everything that needs to get done, I will get done, so.
Very impressive. So do you have any questions for me?
What distinguishes KPMG for you? Why do you like working here?
Great, let's hear it for Madeline.
Great. Sit down.
And now let's hear from our judges.
Great job. Very poised. Couple points. So is like your transition phrase. So before you move into saying something, there's like a so. I would recommend that replace that so with just a pause.
Okay.
Right? And that's kind of contemplative. You're sort of thinking out the question without the verbal. And then second thing, you got a beautiful smile. Know when to bring it out, and when to be serious, and when to focus. You smile through the whole thing, which is great because you got a beautiful smile, very engaging, but know when to sort of be firm with response. Like what would you do when a colleague is not necessarily pulling their weight? Kind of go serious and then go back to the smile.
Okay.
Madeline, I actually have a question for you.
Yeah.
Because when I was reading your resume, I know about the accounting program here and that it does have extra time to lead to your CPA. Would that have been, how could you have incorporated that into your resume to let an employer know, it was wonderful to hear you're planning to take it this summer. Would that have been something maybe to include in there?
I would love to include in my resume. It was hard to find a way to say it.
It was good that you included it in the interview.
Yeah, I wanted to get that
that's a key
across.
factor.
It is kind of,
that just
it's
took
hard
you
to
up another
finish it.
notch
Yeah.
for your employability that you're ready to do that. So it's good.
Well, thank you.
Congratulations
Yeah.
on being almost ready to finish that too. That's
Thank
great.
you.
I was just going to say, Madeline, I love that several times through the conversation, which it is a conversation, although we're not sensing that maybe as much this evening, but you used your hands. I just read an article about what hands positions mean, and you had your palms up a number of times, and it just humanizes you, which I think is a very strong plus.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you were poised and elegant both in your attire and in terms of your communication, very enunciated, articulate. Do you want to mention, in terms of attire, very elegant, very simple. For the rest of the audience, always remember that when you're interviewing, you don't want to distract people. So it was a good choice of jewelry. You don't want to wear something too crazy where it distracts the interviewer, and Joyce is going to end up staring at it the whole time. So that was a good choice.
Thank you.
Oh, you want to give another one, Vicki?
Yeah, I just want to say one other thing. I loved how you tied your internship to the company itself and what you knew about the company. Because again, that caught me in that, you know what, you were engaged in our company and you wanted to be part of this company. So that was really well played.
Thank you.
And I would say, too, that you mentioned your appreciation for the day that the company takes off to volunteer. It's a reflection of who you are, and I got a window into who you are with that comment, really, which was very brief but significant.
Thank you.
All right, let's give it up one more time for Madeline. All right, our next candidate is Noah Joe. Noah is applying to be a student worker in nursing, at the health services of LA County. The student worker will provide basic nursing care and clerical support service for assigned patients. The individual will assist in examinations and treatments, maintain patient records, and keep environments safe and clean in accordance with policies. Let's listen in.
So Noah, thank you so much for being here today and for being interested in this position. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and then I'm going to leave some time at the end so you can ask me a question, okay?
All right.
Great. So Noah, briefly tell me about yourself and your career goals.
Yeah, so I came to apply to Azusa Pacific University, and originally I wanted to study business because I was like, they make a lot of money. That sounds really cool. But I looked at my personality, and I identified myself as someone who's caring, loving, and wants to be with other people. And my mom suggested that I do nursing. I was like, there's no way in heck I'm going to do nursing. And so I was thinking about nursing and realized that in 20 years, if I think about what my legacy would be in 20 years, I would look back and say, okay, well, in nursing, I helped several people. I was with several patients, and I improved the quality of life for each one of them. But in the business setting, if I pursued a business major, that would be a lot harder to see. So now I'm in nursing school, my first semester with patients 12 hours a week. And yeah, so hopefully I get to work with patients in the hospital after college, and in a hospital preferably in the ER or with pediatrics.
Wonderful. So what are your strengths and weaknesses as it relates to the nursing profession?
So my biggest weakness, I'd say, would be patience. And I think one of the most important things about patience and why it's so key in a nursing setting is to not rush into things. If you think that you know like the answers to or how to respond to a patient, if you feel like you know the answer, sometimes it's not always best to go straight in. It's more important to delegate or to meet with other nurses and kind of come together and find the answer and find the treatment, the correct treatment for the patient instead of rushing in. So my weakness for patients is always rushing in. I feel like when there's one instance when in the hospital where I felt like I needed to provide a patient care. He was critical, and I felt like I needed to provide care immediately. But instead of going to the patient immediately, I went to the nurse instead. So that's how I've been working on patients with going with the nurses instead.
Okay, great. How do you describe yourself in an emergency situation?
Can you repeat the question, please?
How would you describe yourself in an emergency situation?
I would say really focused, actually, and I feel like I'd be a person to get panicked and to have all my thoughts scattered. But funny thing you asked that. In high school, I was riding on the bus one time back home, and there was a woman, an old lady, and she was on the floor and she was unconscious. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, why hasn't anyone helped her? And there were people looking around, like waiting for someone to appear, but no one was talking, no one was saying anything. And so I was like, oh shoot, like this lady's unconscious. I need to do something. And so I shouted at the bus driver to stop the bus, and he's like, what the heck? So he slams on the brakes. We pull up to the side, and I run up to the lady and make sure she was okay. And she was unconscious, but she was breathing and she had a pulse, so that was good. And I also called 911 and talked to the paramedics. So that was quite a trip. But eventually she did get up and she was conscious, and the paramedics helped her out. So kind of that clarity in that emergency situation was that came out of nowhere. But yeah.
Well, good for you. Tell me about a time when you dealt with a difficult patient or their family, and what did you do to improve their experience?
Very, very interesting question. So I had this one patient a couple weeks ago, and she had pneumonia, and a couple issues with pneumonia was that you have to be on contact precautions, so you have to get this whole it's called personal protective equipment, and so you have to put on this gown, on a mask and gloves, and that was the biggest hassle, going in, putting on the gear, and then coming out, taking off the gear, come back in. And also the thing was she needed a lot of stuff in general. Like she needed water often, and she asked if I could change the bed often. So that was difficult in that she needed a lot, and I also had other patients to check up on. But ultimately, I said this woman really needs someone. So I actually ended up staying in the room more than walking in and out because I realized this is too redundant. So upon staying with her, I realized it's more efficient. I can hear her story, which I did, and just got to know her more on a personal level.
Very good. How have your clinical rotations prepared you for a nursing career?
Awesome. So I think mainly it's time and experience, and I feel like if I went right into a hospital upon graduating with having very little clinical experience, I'd be a mess. I wouldn't know where to go. I'd have no sense of direction. However, because we get exposed to lots of different things in clinicals, especially for the hospital I'm at, we get to go to the ER, which is really not many other hospitals allow APU students to do that. But especially for this hospital, we're allowed to go to the ER, and we get to experience kind of a different tempo of clinicals, of nursing rotations, and so that's been really interesting. But mainly just getting experience, kind of getting a feel for not only how to be a good nurse, but also how to be a better servant in general. Yeah.
Good. Why should we hire you over other candidates we're considering?
Yeah, so I'm an Eagle Scout, and I was in Boy Scouts for the majority of my life. And when it's funny when people think of Boy Scouts, they think of like Russell from Up, and maybe I am that to some extent, but ultimately in Boy Scouts, what they teach you is leadership, and what I learned through leadership was how to be a good communicator as well as how to have empathy. And through my Eagle Scout project, especially, I demonstrated those three qualities. My team and I, we constructed and organized a food pantry ministry for the city of Cerritos, and we would meet up before we started working, and I'd say, "This is what you're doing. This is what you're doing," to delegate those tasks to workers, and then we'd meet up afterwards and kind of have a debrief of how it went. So we executed the project within a week, and I got my Eagle Scout eventually. And so having a vision in the first place was very key, but also seeing that vision being accomplished was really neat in the end.
Very good. So do you have any questions for me?
What is the ideal candidate for this position?
All right, let's hear it for Noah.
Thank you.
And we can hear from our judges now.
No, I just want to say, as a freshman, good for you.
Yeah.
And I would just say that, again, for me, an interview is a conversation, but it's a careful blend of respect for the person that's interviewing you and an ability to be yourself. So sometimes the language was more youthful than maybe you would want it to be, what the heck, and so on. But it was a good job.
Thank you.
Really good job.
Well, I'll sort of tease you too, Noah. I knew your language was more useful when you referred to the old lady, and I wondered if you were talking about me. Because I am going to be 60 this year, so I didn't know if I qualified in that book. No. But I would love to have you watch this same interview in 4 years from now after you complete your nursing program, because you're looking at a very basic job skills in this, your CPR, that you know how to do assessing vital signs, et cetera. So it'll be a wonderful thing to hear these same questions asked in another 3 years, and to see how you've just grown and matured in your understanding of nursing and your direction in life. I'm sure you're going to be great in the ER, and be prepared.
Thank you.
You are so likable. You really are. You sit down in front of an interviewer, and they're gonna like you. So you'll get some reps in how to polish up some of the things that have already been mentioned. I want to applaud you when the strengths and weaknesses question was asked. You went right in on weakness, which shows a lot of self-awareness. And you gave a really good example that you're aware of that patience is a challenge for you. You didn't answer the strength question, right? So make sure you're listening carefully for the whole question and respond totally, but you did a great job.
Thank you.
Are you even nervous? You seem so relaxed.
I'm pretty nervous.
I have to piggyback off of Ed. You are very, very likable. Part of it is just because you seem so relaxed. It might be because the jargon was a little bit casual.
Okay.
But you'll keep working on it. I applaud you. It's not easy to do what you're doing as a freshman. So good job.
All right, one more time for Noah. All right, our next candidate is Courtney Bowden, and she is applying. Courtney is applying for a floating associate teacher role at Nike. The floating associate teacher will assist with program implementation, encouraging children to participate in classroom activities, and ensure continual supervision of children birth to 5 by providing them with emotional and physical support. Let's listen in.
So, Courtney, I'm really pleased that you're here today and interested in this position. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and then I'll leave some time at the end so you can ask me a question. Does that sound okay?
Okay.
All right, great. So, Courtney, briefly tell me about yourself and your career goals.
So I'm graduating in a month, which is very exciting, with my degree in child life psychology. And I'm really hoping to get into the early childhood education field, possibly looking into elementary ed, but I really love 5 and under. I have had a lot of experience with kiddos. This year I've worked in a pediatric hospital. During my study abroad program, I got to work in a primary school in South Africa, and I've also had a lot of experience with like nannying, babysitting, and summer camps.
Very good. So what do you like most and the least about working with children?
My favorite part about working with kids is getting to watch them grow. One of my biggest strengths is developing, and so getting to watch a kiddo who, say, has behavioral issues and walking through that to come out on the other side and like having fixed those issues or like at least made progress in them is really huge. During my time in the hospital this year, I had a patient who was on hospital hold, which means that he doesn't get any visitors for whatever reason, and we typically see a lot of behavioral issues with them. He was only 3 years old and in a full leg cast, so you can imagine how difficult that would be. But we went from screaming no at the nurses to saying no thank you, sometimes screaming it, but it really changed the perspective that a lot of the nurses and PAs had on him, and he had a much better experience because of it.
Very good. How would you handle a persistent misbehaving child?
I have been a nanny for the past couple summers, and I have a little 5-year-old who, he's the middle child, and just really strives for your attention. When there's a baby and one that you're doing homework with, he wants your attention, he just wants to play. There was one day he decided not to have his lunch, and was just really like in a fussy mood and tried to gouge his little 2-year-old sister's eyes out. And so I had to step in at that point, and I was carrying down the stairs and he bit me. 5 years old, and he bit me. So we got to sit down and have a conversation. We actually went and got mom, got to talk through that, and over the next couple days, like, we really had to like rebuild our relationship and trust. But we were able to get back to that point.
Very challenging. So how would you help new parents feel that you're providing the best care for their child?
It's really important to keep the communication line open. I know at Nike you guys like the whole holistic view, having family-style meals together, and just keeping that line of communication open between the kiddo and me and you, so that you know at the end of the day that Tommy didn't take a nap today, so he might be a little bit fussy when you get home.
Very good. Describe a time that you resolved an issue with an unhappy parent.
I've had parents who have very different disciplining strategies than I do. I don't like physical punishment. I don't believe in it. But there are certain parents who expect that of a child care provider, which is getting yourself in a little bit of hot water. So I've had to just keep that line of communication open with parents and make sure that I'm understanding how they are doing things at home, whether that's potty training or if someone is using potty language and we're trying to encourage or discourage those behaviors. I would just want to be consistent with what they're doing.
Very good. So why should we hire you over other candidates we're considering?
I have a ton of experience. Like I mentioned before, I've been working in a pediatric hospital, which has given me experience with a very broad spectrum of birth to age 18, all different diagnoses and their siblings and their parents. I also have worked in a school before. I got to develop a reading program for some kiddos in South Africa, which was a challenge because I didn't actually speak the language that they spoke, but I had to teach them English. And then I also, working in my church, I've had a lot of experience with kindergarten and under, running a classroom with like 20 to 30 kids in it, which would be very similar to what I'd be doing here.
Very good. So, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah. What is your favorite part about your job, and what is the most challenging part?
All right, let's hear it for Courtney.
Very good.
Thank you.
And now from our judges.
Courtney, good job.
Thank you.
Thank you for consistently through the interview expressing your ability to fulfill the job by talking about so many different personal experiences, the illustrations of real life examples that you confronted, as well as your training. I can't quite see, and it wouldn't bother me if, I would totally understand, but I couldn't quite see if your eyes were totally focused on the interviewer or sometimes distracted, and I don't blame you for being distracted in here, just for what it's worth. Yeah.
Okay.
So, Courtney, I'm a pediatric nurse, and I would just caution you about using kids and kiddos as in referring to children. It lacks a professionalism when we talk about our clients and about the children that we're caring for. So just be cautioned in that. But I too really enjoyed your stories and the practical aspects you brought. It made me feel like I could trust you, that I could understand some of your values, especially when you talked about discipline and things like that. And I think being able to see some of those values coming through would be important to me as I was trying to hire you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would agree. I was looking for maybe a little bit more discipline-specific language as you were interviewing, but then I thought you were so believable, and there's a sense of sincerity and care given what you're being asked to do. And so I'll table my comment on the technical language because I think you covered it with your sincerity and all your experience.
Thank you.
I agree. You definitely exude the passion for your practice, for your discipline, and I'm going to keep your resume if I ever have kids. I know.
Thank you.
Children are terrifying. I can't believe you were bit.
All right, let's hear it one more time for Courtney. Our next candidate is Andrew Washington. And Andrew is applying for an artist manager position at our Adarga Entertainment Group. The artist manager will work on behalf of recording artists to promote the artist's career and run their business affairs, find and book events, negotiate contracts, and manage their social media accounts. Let's listen in.
Thank you for being here, Andrew, and thank you for your interest in this job.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask you a few questions, and then I'll leave some time at the end. You can ask me some questions. Does that sound okay?
Sounds great.
Great, okay. So, Andrew, briefly tell me about yourself and your career goals.
Okay. Well, I'm a commercial music business major here at Azusa Pacific University. I have a dual interest in music and the arts as well as the business industry. I kind of got my start in marketing at a marketing firm in Pasadena called Sprocket Media. There I kind of learned the ins and outs of marketing for business companies, and I was really looking for something that would give me kind of an into the music industry in terms of artist management and branding. So that's kind of what brought me to Adarga.
Okay, good. So what are your strengths and your weaknesses as it relates to this position?
That's a great question. Well, I believe that my strengths really lie with my strategic and creative mindset. I think because I am also a musician, I kind of have, I like to come up with creative strategies when attacking something. So in terms of like projects, finding ways to come up with the best course of action, creating that content, and then going back at it and looking at it and seeing how I can perfect that and kind of reproduce that in a way that is best suited for the situation. For weakness, I believe that while being analytical is a strength of mine, I think it can also be kind of a weakness of mine as well, in terms of looking at something a little too long. But with that, with time management, and I think being honest with deadlines is something that is manageable.
Very good. How much of an impact do you believe illegal downloading of music has on your career as a manager, as well as the music industry itself, and how do you work around that?
Well, I think that when it comes to the illegal downloading of music, for a company like this that has most startup musicians or artists that are kind of just getting into the industry, with digital streaming being what's really taking revenue currently, I think having artist songs or releasing digital albums is probably the way to go and the way that the industry is moving. As well as having physical albums, of course, because using such things for promotional tools is something that you're going to have to do whether you like it or not. But definitely kind of following those industry tools of using streaming to our advantage in that sense.
Okay, thank you. Can you describe a time where you have had to work with a difficult artist, and then how did you handle that situation?
Okay. Well, being a student and managing an artist is very difficult in terms of communication. So the artist that I'm currently managing right now, when we first started, it was a little bit hard to match schedule. But once we finally met, it just became a matter of really connecting with them and showing that I had their best interest at heart, and just being really sincere and showing that I'm not somebody that's just a suit looking to run their career, but a fellow musician that's looking to promote them in the best way possible.
Thank you. Have you ever worked with a bad contract, and how did you get out of it? And then if you have not worked with a bad contract, how would you get out of a bad contract?
That's a great question.
Yeah, a little tedious there.
Well, I think if I was working with a bad contract, the number one thing is to read the fine print. And that comes with any industry that you work with, and definitely being able to clearly communicate expectations. If the contract was to the point where I would need to have legal help, then that would be something that I would definitely search out.
Okay, good. So, Andrew, why should we hire you above other candidates we're considering?
Well, I think that I have not only coming from with experience in the marketing industry, but as being a musician, I think kind of gives me a different perspective. And I think that with that perspective and knowing industry trends that are going right now in the music industry, I think that gives me a bit of an edge, as well as having that past experience working with an artist currently, as well as managing different social media accounts for different groups on campus at APU. I think that would make me a qualified candidate.
Okay, good. So, do you have any questions for me?
Yes. So I guess my question for you would be, with streaming taking center stage in terms of revenue in the music industry, how does Adarga stay current with managing up-and-coming artists?
All right, let's hear it for Andrew. And now our judges.
So loved your follow-up or your only question. I think it got at what would be important for you in the field that you're wanting to go into. So great question. Love the fit. You got the look. You got the bow tie, the pocket square. I'm about to give you my EP so you can represent me, right? It seems to me that the ethical issues with respect to contract and illegal downloading of music are going to be some things that you want to form some value statements around in terms of where you really fall and how you articulate that. You didn't quite get at the ethical question or the illegal downloading question. It's going to be important for you to know where you stand. You got to convince artists that you've got their back with respect to that, and that you know how to handle those complicated situations. So that's going to take some work, but it'll be important.
Thank you.
Andrew, I'm going to ask a question like Vicki did of a previous candidate. I didn't see on your resume that you are a musician, and that might seem to be helpful in this industry. So maybe include that at some point.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Are you?
Yes, I am a singer.
And I think you were wearing jeans.
Oh,
Are you
no,
wearing je-
no.
No jeans? Okay, somebody was wearing jeans. I was going to say that's good for the music industry.
Oh, yeah.
And I too enjoyed your question at the end. You know, that you showed, it demonstrated that you truly had some knowledge of the industry and were asking a really pointed question about, especially for this company. So that was great.
I second all that, and you look very dapper, kind sir. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, let's hear it for Andrew. And our next candidate is Noah Jackson. Noah will be applying for a legislative coordinator position at the 32nd Assembly District of California. The legislative coordinator is the staff person who monitors the legislative schedule, makes recommendations regarding the pros and cons of particular issues, and assists senior level staffers with legislative related duties. Let's listen in.
Thank you for being here today and for your interest in this position. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and then at the end, I'll leave some time. You can ask me some questions. Does that sound okay?
Sounds great.
Great, okay. So tell me briefly about yourself and your career goals.
Yes, so I grew up in Central California. I grew up in the district, grew up on a farm and in agricultural production and business. And through that, I got to experience immigration and the water issues and California labor and all of these things that are essential to Central California. And I realized that while there's so much beautiful about it, there's also a need for representation in California. And so that's what kind of the catalyst that sent me to APU. That's why I'm studying politics today, political science. I want to be able to be prepared to make a difference in the field. In Sacramento in the future, there's such a need for that. And so I'm looking forward to, through this opportunity, engaging with and representing the Central Valley and all of its constituents.
Very good. So what are your main issues? What are the main issues facing the 26th district?
I think obviously, in our current situation, immigration is huge. We need to be able to find a way to establish people who are moving here. They need to be able to be here legally. They need to be able to have a voice. They need to be heard. Right now, there's so many people in the district that aren't heard, that don't have a voice. That's huge. I think another issue is the relationship between the state and the federal government. On a district level, there's not a lot of coordination in between the state and federal government, and so that's something to where it's causing headaches, whether it be labor or water, and immigration as well, because that's a national issue. And yeah, I think those
Right.
issues.
So what experience do you have in written communication that would be beneficial to policy writing? Can you give me an example?
Totally, yeah.
Great.
I just last night finished a 20-page research brief on healthcare. And so because of my studies in political science, I'm touching every major policy issue, whether it be education or healthcare or immigration. I'm going through all different welfare programs currently. And so I've had to write for a number of different audiences. Next week, I'm writing for our school newspaper, but I'm also writing for different positions to, for example, policy briefs. So I've had to write for a lot of different audiences, and so have a lot of different experience in that field.
Very good. So if you were to introduce a bill right now, what would that be for?
That is a good question. I think currently the main issue, as I touched on earlier, is immigration. We need to be, and it's a federal issue, but we need to be on a state level prepared and able to give these people voices, the people that are currently don't have voices, that aren't here legally. There needs to be a way to establish legality for those individuals, and that not only helps in the agricultural labor industry, but it affects all of California. And so I think because of that, different districts and different assemblymen are going to be able to get on board with that as well.
Okay, good. Give me an example of a problem in the community and your plan to resolve it.
Yeah, I think so. My family and the local community works with a lot of at-risk youth as well. And so obviously I've touched on a lot of different issues, but that's a big issue as well. Growing up, going through Kingsburg High School and seeing the different nonprofit organizations that are helping with these students who are coming from broken homes. They're coming from broken backgrounds and they're getting to high school and they're not being able to succeed because they haven't been prepared thus far. And so it's been so cool to be on the inside of different nonprofit organizations that I've seen my family work with and the local community work with that are engaging on a local or on a face-to-face level with these at-risk youth and being able to mentor them, being able to encourage them. And it's just now starting to be integrated into our local school district in Kingsburg, in the district. And so to see that expanded I think that would make a huge difference in the 32nd district.
Very nice. So why should we hire you over other candidates we're considering?
Yeah, my home is in the district. That is my home. I grew up working with the constituents. I grew up, my family, I have over 100 family members in the area that are all involved in agricultural business. And so know the issues and the needs. I grew up in the education system, know the needs of the education system in our district and the water needs and the labor needs because, like I said earlier, I've worked with all that, but that's what really sets me apart is that I've had that experience hands-on in the district. I know those people and I'm so passionate about representing them because I have a personal attachment to those people and to the welfare of the district specifically.
Very good. Okay, so do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, one question that I have is how much interaction will I have with other assembly districts as well as other offices in the Capitol?
All right, let's hear it for Noah. And now to our judges.
Okay, Noah, I'm going to tease you about your suit. So stand up a minute. Are you a one button or two buttoner there?
Oh, I one button if I button.
Right. So you would have come out with the one. The typical politician would have come out with the one button done and then unbuttoned it before he sat down. I was waiting for that moment from you. I've been reading about the button thing. So thanks.
Next time.
And no, I just have to say I love your passion for your hometown. I heard you when you were an honor student coming through and applying to that program, and I'm glad to hear that passion has not diminished in your time here at APU and that you're still feeling strongly about it.
I'm just going to say, in addition to the suit, any guy who can wear a pastel shirt is confident in himself, so good for you. Good for you.
Thank you.
It's very attractive.
Go for it, Peggy.
I was going to say that I heard your conviction about immigration. That was well expressed. I appreciated that when the interviewer asked you, when Joyce asked you for what's an issue in the community, you turned your face to a different issue so that I would understand the scope of your interests. That was a big positive. So.
Thank you. Well, Noah, you obviously win the popular vote tonight. Not that it will influence the judges at all. Well done, by the way. You look the part, very professional. You look like you could represent a district. I don't know of any profession where language will be more scrutinized than in the political arena. And so there were a couple places where you referred to the at-risk youth or the immigrants as these people or those people. Now, I know you didn't mean any harm by that, but you can see how that can be misconstrued by a listener to feel like there's some marginalization going on. So just think through those word sets, come up with your terms so that when you're asked and you talk about your fellow citizens or your fellow Americans or your fellow, constituents, that there are words that you can use that doesn't distinguish them necessarily from anybody else.
No problem. One of the reasons why I know that word so well is because I interned for one of our local congressmen a little while ago. So I think you have the makings of, the field representatives, the passion, again, you look the part. It's very, very well-rounded package. I would just piggyback off, just be careful because you're always going to be scrutinized, nitpicked for your language. So just be careful on that. But otherwise, you're doing well.
You did.
Awesome. One more time for Noah. All right, and now we'll bring out our final interview for the night, Michaela Brewster. And Michaela will be interviewing for an Originals Marketing Coordinator at Netflix. The Originals Marketing Coordinator will assist in developing innovative marketing campaigns to launch a diverse range of Originals projects. The coordinator will be a part of the creative team that brainstorms, develops, and executes both digital and in-person marketing campaigns. Let's listen in.
Thank you for being here today, Michaela.
Thank you.
And thank you for your interest in the position. I'm going to ask you just a few questions, and then I'll leave some time at the end if you have any questions for me. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, awesome.
Perfect. So briefly tell me about yourself and your career goals.
Sure. So my name is Michaela. I'm a student at Azusa Pacific University, and I'm studying media communication and public relations. And over the past 4 years, I've gotten to work with a lot of different brands, working with Hamilton the Musical, a couple other Broadway shows. I've gotten to work for a tech startup called The Skim. I'm currently at Paramount Pictures. And basically from all of that, what I've learned about myself is that I love marketing, and I love the creativity behind it and the innovation that I get to have with that. And so I've also realized that I love the entertainment industry. It's something that excites me. And so I'm really interested in a position with Netflix because I believe that you guys are leaders in both of those areas, with the content that you're putting out and also with the marketing strategies that you're running. I think that they're some of the best in the industry, and so I would love to be a part of that going forward.
Great. So what do you believe are the most important skills to a marketing coordinator?
I think that it's very important for a marketer to be able to look at the big picture and be able to kind of take a project that we're working on and think through, okay, like what are the main messages that we want to get across? What are the big picture ideas? But then also being able to drill that down into a specific plan, because I think a lot of times it can be difficult to find someone who has both, and that's something that I'm passionate about, both the big ideas and also the details. And I think it's important to be able to balance the two because I don't think one can work without the other.
Very good. Okay, describe the most difficult project you've ever worked on, so far anyway, and what challenges did you face and how did you overcome those challenges?
Yeah. I would say one of the most difficult challenges I've worked on was on one of my on-campus internships. We were launching a new eatery on campus, and so we didn't have too much of a following at the time, but we wanted to do something to get students excited for it. And so basically we had to figure out a way to both build up the audience beforehand and then find a way to creatively let them know about the new options that they would have. And so basically that process, we worked together as a team and kind of all got to pitch different ideas. And then together we created a plan to have a kind of giveaway every single week called Follower Fridays, and that got more people to follow us. And then leading up to it, we came up with a whole campaign the day of the launch for the new food place. So that was really exciting to get to work together as a team and to all kind of contribute different ideas.
Very nice. So tell me about a marketing campaign you worked on that failed, and then what happened, and what did you do? What did you learn from that experience?
I would say for me one of the biggest failures of my career that I would consider would be when I was asked to take on the role of running the social media for an on-campus event. And I was pretty early on in my career, so I didn't really know all of the strategy that went into it. And so I just kind of like ran in head first and just would like live tweet the different events, or I would be posting pictures during the week, but I didn't really have a strategy. And so the main thing that I learned was that it's super important beforehand to be able to sit down and think, okay, like week 4, what is kind of the messaging that we want to have? And then, you know, the final push right before, like, what is that going to look like and what's the difference there? So definitely being able to look at the big picture and strategize is something that I learned is important.
Very good. So what is your understanding of market segmentation, and how would you use this technique to drive successful campaigns at Netflix?
Mm-hmm. So market segmentation, how I see it, is basically just having different audiences, making sure that the messaging that we're getting across to that specific audience is the most direct and the most applicable to them, because it's great if you're able to reach a large number of people, but if it's not directly applicable, then you're wasting, you know, dollars and time and all of that. So I think it's definitely important to make sure to focus in on, you know, the specific audience. So, you know, for Netflix, with Gilmore Girls, you know, there's a specific audience that you're going after there. And so that's what I loved about your Gilmore Girls campaign, that you did specific like gifts for like inviting mothers and daughters to watch it together, and I thought that was really creative and different. And so I think it's important to make sure that you know who you're talking to and that you're giving them a message that's applicable.
Very good. So why should we hire you over other candidates we're considering?
Mm-hmm. I would say number one, because I'm extremely passionate about marketing. I think that that's something that will make me work harder, because I don't really like turn off at 6 o'clock when I go home. You know, I'm always thinking of new ideas, and I think that that helps me to bring more to the table. I also believe that I'm a good team member. I've had lots of good experiences collaborating with other people, and so I definitely think it's important for everyone to be able to contribute different ideas and to kind of hear everyone out. So I think that I would be a good member of the team, and kind of like what I mentioned at the beginning with the balance between big ideas and details. I love the, you know, creativity that comes with thinking through big campaigns, but I also love details, and so I think I'm a good balance between the two.
Very good. So do you have any questions for me?
I do. So Netflix is growing so fast, and so congratulations on that. But I wanted to know, how does digital strategy fit into that, and how important is that in Netflix's trajectory?
All right, let's hear it from Michaela. And now to our judges.
Michaela, I just want to say, I know it's different strokes for different folks, but I loved your resume. I loved that it had some snappiness, I would call
some side hustle.
Yeah. Say?
Side hustle.
Yeah.
Is in I like that side hustle. Yeah.
And I also love that you said me in a tweet. I just love that. In fact, I wrote before we started, oh, I'd like to hire this girl for our company, but Netflix appears to be calling you. So. I want to say too that your almost breathlessness, excitement, I found refreshing. I like someone who comes in and is evidencing that she's probably going to be a gung-ho worker. So thanks for coming to the table with the passion showing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I also loved how you connected your passion to exactly what Netflix was doing. And, you know, that you truly knew our company as it was, and you could see then how there was a deep connection between what you were interested in and what we do. So that was great. And I, too, loved that resume.
Thank you.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Ditto.
You articulated everything very well, from, you know, what you know about the job, what you know about your past experience, how you do it, what you do, things about surrounding the market and the industry as well. A large portion of my clientele consists of media and marketing companies, so I think they would like your bubbly personality, the spunk on your resume, so that was very well done.
Thank you.
All right, let's hear it one more time from Michaela. Oh, Ed, you want to say something? No, you want to say something?
it was so good, and you were so poised and so knowledgeable. When she asked the market segmentation question, you answered that in terms of what market segmentation is. You talked about the Gilmore Girls. Would have been a great place to go into a little more detail with some examples of market segmentation to make sure that you're communicating, that you understand what that is by way of example.
Yeah.
Otherwise, isn't that great?
All right, one more time for Michaela. Thank you. All right, let's give it up one more time for all of our competitors working through this. And we are going to send our judges right now to deliberation. Corey will take you all back. So let's give it up for our judges and all the feedback that they shared. And now to announce the winner for the overall competition from the judges is the chair of the Board of Trustees, Peggy Campbell.
Thank you. Thank you, Phil. I just want to say, Sasha and, oh my gosh, Madeline, the beautiful name, and Noah and Courtney, and oh my gosh, my head is not working right. Andrew, Noah, Michaela, you were all absolutely fantastic. And yeah. And we spent time deliberating because it's challenging to say who's the winner out of 7 winners. So thank you for what you did. 6. No, 7. Yeah. I said you're so great. Oh! I'm not critiquing you. I'm not critiquing you anymore. Sorry. All of that to say thank you for this evening. You are the reason that trustees come to serve here, why faculty come to serve here, why staff come to serve here, because we see the future in you. So thank you. And now I will tell you that the winner of this evening's competition of the Battle of the Interviews is Michaela Brewster.
All right, let's give it. Thank you all so much. Have a great night.